Almost there.
It's chilly.
We're almost there. And you know what? In terms of almost being there, the election is weeks away. Are you excited about that? I'm downright giddy. I'm downright giddy for this election. I cannot wait. November 5th. And we're gonna be having a big old party. A big party. And we want you to be there. It's going to be awesome. Absolutely awesome. Our next event, the WTN election party, we're going to be doing it live at the Wilson County Fairgrounds inside the Made in Tennessee building. We want you there. It's free to join. There's going to be plenty of room for everybody. I think that room holds about 1,000. Is that what we?
At least, yeah.
At least.
Most of the extra space is like right around. I think we got plenty of space for everybody to come and join.
Everybody can come for free, but if you want to buy a VIP ticket, you can actually get front row seating.
Ooh.
You can get all of your food included, all of your beverages included.
That's nice.
Including the alcohol.
Are they like alcohol tickets or like
no,
bar?
It's open. It's open. And a WTN goodie bag.
Ooh.
That's only $100 for those tickets, and they're limited in supply. There's only about 100 of those to go.
Yeah, I might have to grab one just because they're probably going to shove me in the back corner somewhere.
It's going to be worth it for the food, man.
Yeah, just food alone. Yeah, absolutely.
Worth it, and you'll get that VIP seat right in front, so you can be able to watch the entire live broadcast. Because you know Brian is going to be down there starting at 3:00 for the drive.
Oh yeah,
and then we're all going to be rolling in right around 5, 6-ish to jump on the air with him, and then we're going. We're going to be on the air as long as it takes.
Predictions. How late you think you're going to be here this year?
I don't know. They were laughing the last election. They were trying to tell me about it. They're like, we're here all night.
Yeah, I heard they got like closer to like midnight.
Yeah. I already told the wife. I'm like, I'm probably not sleeping on November 5th.
Just a heads up.
So I may go back to the radio station and crash on a couch.
Do they have some nice couches here?
They do. They do. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be frowned upon when the sales staff comes in and they see me sleeping on one after the election.
I mean, I had a slight pillow thrown at me last time, but
did you?
It's not that bad.
So we want you there. Join us at the Wilson County Fairgrounds for that election party on November 5th. It's going to be fantastic. If you want to get that VIP ticket, it's online at 997WTN.com. 997WTN.com. Kamala versus Trump. That's what we're here for, and it's getting wild. Kamala yesterday went on an angry rant about Donald Trump dodging interviews, which is weird because he's just because he's done more than she has. But she went on this angry rant on a podcast called The Shade Room about Trump dodging interviews, even though he's done more than her. And hiding health issues from the American public, which is hilarious because who was covering up health issues of the president from the American public for the last 3.5 years? So, yeah, Kamala Harris. But the joy has evaporated. It is nowhere to be found. Kamala Harris is just angry.
Look, this man won't even debate me a second time. He won't even debate me a second time. He didn't do the 60 Minutes interview, which I believe every presidential candidate for president of the United States has done.
Okay, the 60 Minutes interview, the one that 60 Minutes edited heavily on your behalf, Kamala. That's lining up to go do CBS, right? Lining up. I'll be there ASAP. Donald Trump says. 60 Minutes, the same 60 Minutes who combated Donald Trump about the Hunter Biden laptop in the lead up to 2020, right? And after 2020, just lied to the American public. It's Russian disinformation. That's 60 Minutes. That's 60 Minutes. The same 60 Minutes who had Speaker Mike Johnson on the air over the weekend, and they edited his interview. Speaker Mike Johnson posting the receipts last night on Twitter about CBS editing his interview, saying, I recently traveled to North Carolina and victims of Hurricane Helene told me nearly 2 weeks after landfall, the Biden-Harris administration still not provided them with all the resources they desperately need. But CBS selectively edited out entirely this firsthand perspective. So I want to play you this clip that Speaker Mike Johnson put on Twitter. The first half is what aired on CBS.
So that's a different accounting than this 2% you say was distributed. Yeah, so they've obligated some funds, but they've only distributed 2%. The rescue and recovery effort's still going on, and then we address the rest of it.
So that's what aired on CBS, okay? That short 11-second answer. But in reality, it was 40 seconds long, and it sounded like this.
So that's a different accounting than this 2% you say was distributed.
Yeah, so they've obligated some funds, but they've only distributed 2%. And when I was there on the ground, and you should go, I mean, bring the cameras and talk to the people there. They'll tell you, don't take politicians' words for this or the administration's word. Talk to the people there on the ground. They had not been provided the resources almost 2 weeks out from the storm that they desperately needed. And when I was there, 13 days post the storm hitting that state, people are still being rescued. They're stuck in the higher elevations in the mountains because the roads are down and all the rest. So they need every available resource and all hands on deck. The rescue and recovery effort's still going on, and then we address the rest of it.
So Speaker Mike Johnson clearly illustrating that CBS has deceptive editing practices, which we already knew because Kamala Harris had her interview edited to make her look better. Speaker Mike Johnson gets his interview edited to make him look worse. Why would anybody want to go on CBS? It's a weird flex for Kamala Harris to say he's dodging the CBS interview. Well, I would point out Dave Ramsey interviewed Donald Trump, and he invited Kamala Harris on. She declined. The Time magazine people, they offered to interview Kamala Harris. She declined. Is she dodging those interviews as well? I think so.
He didn't do the 60 Minutes interview, which I believe every presidential candidate for President of the United States has done. He will not take up the important responsibility that every presidential candidate has done of showing their medical records.
You know they're desperate when we're just a few weeks out from the election and the conversation has shifted to medical records. I played the clip yesterday from Kristen Welker on Meet the Press over the weekend where she's like, well, what about the president? What about the president's cholesterol levels? Yeah, everybody's worried about that, right? Just shaking in my boots. What if Donald Trump has high cholesterol?
Okay.
Which you just did.
Which I have done. Of course I've done it. I have done that. I have challenged him to another debate. I have given up my medical records. I did the 60 Minutes interview. And one has to ask, what is Donald Trump trying to hide? What is his staff and his team trying to keep from you?
What is his staff and his team trying to keep from you? It's amazing. They must have heard the criticisms of Kamala Harris and decided to flip that around and project that on Donald Trump. This is just what the left does. They love to project. They love it. It's one of their favorite things to do. Kamala Harris on her angry rant about Donald Trump hiding his health issues, dodging interviews. It's nothing more than projection. 100%. Plus, she ignores the fact that Donald Trump was on the Full Send podcast, which got released yesterday. And on that Full Send podcast, Donald Trump talks about the 60 Minutes interview that Kamala Harris did, where they edited it out to make her look better. They edited out a whole portion of word salad to make Kamala look better.
60 Minutes, she gives a horrible answer, and they change the answer. I think it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history. They actually took her answer out and gave her a different answer.
Yeah, I saw that.
After it was shot. And it's turned out to be a scandal. But I think it's the worst thing I've seen in broadcast that I've ever seen. I think it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history. Number one, it's election interference. Number two, they get a license, and it's supposed to be a license based on free press, fair press, and honesty. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's a disaster.
Yeah, and that podcast probably is going to have more views than the 60 Minutes interview at the end of the day. It's almost at 1 million now. It was released yesterday. Donald Trump is dodging interviews, though. He's dodging them. Completely dodging interviews. Word on the street, though, is that Donald Trump has another big interview lined up, this time with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan podcast. There's another rumor that an invitation has been extended to the Kamala Harris campaign to do the Joe Rogan podcast as well. Which one do you think is going to accept the invite? Well, Trump is going to accept the invite. He's already said he's going to do it. But do you think Kamala's going to take that? Could you imagine Kamala trying to do 2 hours with Joe Rogan? just being a human? Doubtful. But Kamala Harris, man, she's on one. She's also on record now claiming that Trump is going to eliminate $35 a month insulin cap. The same policy that was his, that he enacted before Joe and Kamala took office. This is also in that Shade Room interview podcast with Kamala Harris.
We capped the cost of prescription medication at $2,000 a year for seniors and capped the cost of insulin at $35 for our seniors. That's our grandparents, our parents. Black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes. His plan would eliminate that cap.
Oh, his plan would eliminate that cap. Actually, you know, it's funny. His plan created the cap. Also, his plan, in conjunction with Robert F. Kennedy, wants to actually just eliminate diabetes altogether by getting rid of the processed food and the junk out of our food supply. Does Kamala Harris have a plan for eliminating that? No, of course not. Of course not. She only comes up with plans when it's politically beneficial to her. Like her latest plan, because she understands that the black vote is fleeing the Kamala Harris campaign, the Democrats in general. Her new plan is, hey, we'll give you forgivable loans, black males, forgivable loans to start a business. $20,000 forgivable for 1 million black males. So she's essentially just making promises because it's an election. This wasn't a long-standing belief that she needed to do. This is a new thing because she understands that she's imploding in the polls. And all we're seeing from Kamala, from the attacks on Donald Trump right now, medical records and dodging interviews, to these plans for money for black entrepreneurs, it's just pandering. It's political pandering. And I find it just gross. I find it inauthentic, inorganic, and gross. You probably feel the same way. She's done it. She's been on a media blitz, though. You have to give her credit. Kamala Harris is talking to more reporters than she's ever talked to before. And to our benefit, to be perfectly honest, because every time she opens her mouth, it's just easier and easier to point out the flaws in what she's saying. But sometimes you get just gems that really don't deserve an explanation. Like this one. Brand new word salad dropped yesterday. This is on the Roland Martin show. Kamala attempted to discuss stars and constellations and what transpired after trying to discuss stars and constellations. It's art. It's art. Belongs in the Louvre.
There's this whole, I talked with somebody once who said, if you just look at where the stars are in the sky, don't look at them as just random things. If you just look at them as points, look at the constellation, what does it show you? So you just outlined it, Roland. What does it show you?
What does it show you? This woman is completely unserious. She's not a real person. I don't think that she has a real thought in her head because when she tries to express her real thoughts, that's what you get. That is what you get every single time. And it's not just the people around Kamala that understand there's a problem. There's the people a step away also understand there's a problem, and they've enlisted just big name Democrats to come help them, from Michelle Obama to Barack to Bill Clinton. And I'll bring you the chaos that ensued when she enlisted that help. My gosh, did you hear what Bill said yesterday? Bill Clinton is essentially just out there making pro-Trump ads. It's wild. I'll bring you what Bill said when we get back. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Coming up in the news this morning, some Vanderbilt clinic patients are being told they have been exposed to HIV. Also, a fresh terror attack to tell you about in Israel. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. Thank you, Joan. 9:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, feeling the love on the Super Text line. I was saying that I'm ready for snow and sledding, and this cold morning got me kind of hyped for that.
Big hype.
And I got big hype. I got a text. I got a text here that said, "Hey clown, if you want snow, go back to Canada." Snow is a 4-letter word.
Putting you in your place.
Thanks for the text, Sally. I feel the love. I'm sure after yesterday, there are some Democrats, you ready for this radio segue, that are telling Bill Clinton to go back to Arkansas.
Oh, please.
You like that? You like that segue?
Yes.
So Clinton's on the campaign trail yesterday for Kamala. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good. At one point, he stopped at a Georgia McDonald's, because he's just a regular guy. He's just like you and me.
He's just a guy.
The women working behind the counter had no idea who he was. No idea, honestly. And I mean, he looks rough. Like, I can't even blame the women. He doesn't look like the guy that was our president.
It's funny that Kamala keeps having to have a bunch of old white guys come and support her to
right?
show her off.
Bill Clinton today looks closer to Jimmy Carter today than Bill Clinton in 96. I'm just being honest. So he walks into this McDonald's and they had no idea who he was. One of the women behind the counter went, "Joe?" Do you hear that? Are you Joe? Are you Joe? No, I'm not. They had no idea who he was. No idea. And then when he was at the little rally, they put poor Bill in a camouflage Harris Waltz cap, which I kind of feel bad about. But he's trying to make the point that Trump should have allowed the bipartisan border bill to go through, right? And he unintentionally made a new Trump ad talking about Lake and Riley. And he said it probably wouldn't have happened if the illegal alien had been vetted at the border. Oh, this audio is all messed up. Hold on one second. Let me try and refresh that. Bill at the border. Let's give this one more shot. The audio is messing up. I'll find the right audio, I promise. But there's another clip that turns it into a Donald Trump commercial, which is even better.
It was like 10 times better.
I'll play you that version. This is it right here. What's going on with my computer? The audio is not working on my computer. This is not fun. It's not fun for this to happen in real time.
No.
But I'll get the correct audio, and I'll bring it to you after the news with Joan Jones, who won't have messed up audio in the newscast, I promise you. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Allow the wrongfully convicted to move forward with a lawsuit to get up to $50,000.
It's 9:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We are looking at 50 degrees right now, but the high just 61 degrees today. No, it's not snow, but it is pretty cool. Well, there are more patients reporting that they may have been exposed to HIV and hepatitis after having a procedure at Vanderbilt Clinic. This woman, Miss Matthew, as she wants to be called, tells Fox 17 that she got a phone call months after having an endoscopy in July.
I have a liver condition, so I knew that if I were to be tested positive for this, then it could be probably life-altering for me.
Vanderbilt says it was a problem with how a solution was administered through the scope. It says the issue has been corrected. A terrorist hiding in the woods shot dead in Israel, an Israeli police officer, and injured 4 civilians today in the country's south. A truck driver who watched the shooting take place shot the attacker dead. Meantime, Israel has expanded its Hezbollah strikes in Lebanon.
Most especially what we've noticed is they are now, the Israelis, targeting Hezbollah all across the country, not just in southern Lebanon, where the actual war is raging, where more than 2,000 people have now been killed and many thousands injured, but all across the country. And these airstrikes, these Israeli strikes, are now reaching right into communities that don't usually see the violence.
You wait for this all week.
That is ABC's James Longman reporting. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow Jones Industrials, they're down 172 right now, and the S&P falling 10. NASDAQ is minus 96 points. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. $9:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, I'm Chris Hand. It is spooky season. We're getting closer and closer to Halloween, but you don't want to be tricked. You want to let Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, treat your family with these specials. Give them a call. They're not going to ghost you. 50% off furnace inspection and 20% off any furnace repair work at time of service. You got to call these guys for these deals. It includes check, test, and start only. Additional fees for maintenance and repair work must be done at the time of inspection. $69 mainline camera inspection from Outside Cleanout. Find out if your drain pipes are clean, cracked, or clogged. Up to $300 off ultraviolet home treatment system installation as well for the RM2 systems. And remember, the Beehive Club. The Beehive Club is the best value in AC, heating, and plumbing. These guys will give you 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your heating, 1 for your plumbing, 10% off all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a $1,000 max, and no overtime or holiday fees for as little as $99. Satisfaction is guaranteed if you call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you?
9:39 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So weird. This audio is just not working. It works when I have it in queue, which is like just for your headphones. But when I go to play it over the actual air, it's not working.
I think I'm going to have to get a Twitter account.
You're going to have to get a Twitter account. You're going to have to make one real quick so I can send you some of this
Be
stuff.
your primary.
I got a text here. It said, wish for snow, get a frozen computer. Apparently.
Getting played.
Apparently. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Join the conversation at 615-737-9986. Don't forget, we got a big Election Day party happening, Wilson County Fairgrounds. That's going to be an absolute banger, and you can get VIP tickets at 997WTN.com that include all the food and all the drinks, plus front row seating as you watch us broadcast live and break down all of the results. 997WTN.com. It's going to be a blast. Can't wait to see you there. I don't know how late we're going to go, as late as it takes. It's going to be a blast. We're very, very excited. Very excited to be doing all this. Kamala Harris attacking Donald Trump every step of the way. Every interview she gets, he's afraid. He's afraid to do interviews. He's afraid to release his medical records. He's afraid. He's so scared. He's terrified. Downright terrified. Are you paying attention? Are you keeping score at home? The same woman who is afraid to do any interviews. The same woman who needs to go on friendly outlets. She's attacking Donald Trump. Now, she is going to be doing an interview with Bret Baier on Fox News. And a lot of people said, oh, well, that's different. That's different. It's not friendly. Maybe Bret Baier will ask her some tough questions. Donald Trump doesn't have as much faith. He posted on Truth Social, lying Kamala Harris has wisely chosen Bret Baier of Fox News to do a much-needed interview because he is considered to be fair and balanced, though often very soft to those on the cocktail circuit left. I would have preferred seeing a more hard-hitting journalist, but Fox has grown so weak and soft on the Democrats, constantly polluting the airwaves with unopposed Kamala representatives, that it all doesn't matter anymore. Hopefully, the people will understand on November 5th and early voting make America great again. Also, that Bret Baier interview that she's doing on Fox News will be pre-taped. Ooh, the dreaded pre-taped interview. Now, I don't think Fox News is going to edit it as deceptively as 60 Minutes did. But Donald Trump doesn't have faith that it's going to be fair. Doesn't have all the confidence in the world in Bret Baier and the oligarchs over at Fox News, the Paul Ryans of the world. He doesn't have the faith. Can you blame him? I don't blame him. Kamala Harris is also going to be doing a town hall today with Charlemagne of The Breakfast Club, a radio town hall. It's going to be at 4 o'clock our time. And they're going to do radio format where she's got people calling in. I was thinking about seeing if we could wriggle our way into the calls, but then I realized, no, it's all going to be pre-planned. There's going to be no authentic callers. Everything is going to be pre-planned. The questions are going to be pre-picked out like every other town hall that she's done. So we're not going to waste our time with that. Though there will be some juicy audio coming out of that tomorrow. Kamala Harris sitting down for that radio town hall with Charlemagne. Trump did drop a new ad before the Charlemagne town hall using Charlemagne's audio against him.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
I mean, heck of an ad to drop before she goes to do a town hall with Charlemagne. He took the clips that Charlemagne was talking about, that ad that ran during college football about Kamala being for they, them, Trump being for you. And they spliced it into the ad and repurpose the ad. It's a thing of art. It's beautiful. And that's going to be airing on TV as Kamala goes on Charlemagne's show today for a radio town hall. Hilarious. But Kamala's going to anyone and talking to anyone that can try and help her because the internal numbers must be that bad. I don't understand why they trot out Bill Clinton. I don't. With all of the dirt, all of the Epstein stuff behind him, why? And I've had this conversation with Murphy quite a few times on and off the air, and his reply, it always makes sense to me. The Democrats just don't care. They just don't care about Bill Clinton's Epstein ties. They just don't care. Well, Bill Clinton was in Georgia yesterday. He was barely recognizable at a McDonald's. They didn't know who he was. One of the cashiers asked him if he was Joe, which was hilarious. Are you Joe Biden? But what he said on the campaign trail was even more wild. Bill Clinton on Laken Riley's death said it probably wouldn't have happened if he had been properly vetted at the border. Okay, it's just that one clip that's not working. That's not cool, man. I wish we had this working the right way. We'll find that audio. Bill Clinton talking about Laken Riley is something that you need to hear because the way he puts it, if the vetting had been done properly, Laken Riley would still be here. It's like you're doing a campaign ad for Donald Trump. That's what you're doing. None of the audio on any of these clips are working. That's crazy. It seems like it's just this Bill Clinton clip on Twitter that is not working for audio. I mean, everybody's posted this clip, and it's not working anywhere. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Let me see. It's just the Bill Clinton clip. It's just the Bill Clinton clip not working on Twitter.
Is it a 12-second clip?
It's a 34-second clip.
Okay. I have a 12-second from Fox News that I found of it.
Play that. See if it works.
Might get an ad. Hold on.
Oh, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Fox News.
Yeah, play the Fox News thing while we get through this ad. Wait, you got two of those going at the same time?
I'm a professional over here. All right, let's get this.
I find it very odd that it's the only clip on Twitter that's not working.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The only
Clinton
one.
supporting Trump, and it happens to be messing up.
Isn't that weird? It's.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Had the vetting happened, it probably wouldn't have happened. Yeah, that's what we've been saying for years. For years. Oh, well, Donald Trump shut down the bipartisan border bill. Yeah, well, this guy was let in 2022. So where's the excuse now? Where's the excuse? They'll try and cover it up. Oh, well, he was saying that Trump should have done the bipartisan border bill. Yeah, but this guy came in 2022. 2022. It's insane. And they'll cover this up. They won't cover this on any of the mainstream media networks. They just won't. They won't do it. It's wild. Bill Clinton essentially throwing Kamala Harris under the bus while he's campaigning for her in Georgia. I don't think he likes Kamala Harris that much. I just don't. How could you?
I think he was just given another check. He was told, hey, remember you're a Democrat.
Honestly.
Go ahead and do this stuff.
Honestly, it's not just Kamala Harris out there. It's not just Bill Clinton. Doug Emhoff has been doing a bunch of interviews as well. He was on with MSNBC and Morning Joe, and he brought up the debate, and he said this.
Look at the debate. Why do you think Donald Trump won't debate her again?
Well, you saw the first debate, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Got his ass kicked.
Oh. Donald Trump won't debate Kamala Harris again because he got his ass kicked, according to First Doug. Does anybody believe that? I watched that debate twice. I didn't see an ass kicking. Not in the slightest. In fact, the only thing anybody even remembers from that debate is Donald Trump. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Was it Scott Adams, the guy that created Dilbert? He said, Trump didn't hit any singles, but the long ball was still rising, and it is still rising. It's wild. Absolutely wild. He had more to say in that interview. Doug Emhoff also says it's disinformation that Trump had a good economy.
People need to understand and not get sucked in by this fog, this Trump fog that's out there of disinformation, misinformation, this perception that he was somehow good on the economy when he was president. He was not.
Oh, yeah. They're trying to rewrite history in front of our eyes, right? Trump is hiding from interviews. Trump wasn't good on the economy. Trump won't release his medical records. What are they trying to hide? It's all so tiring, but it reeks of desperation. It reeks of panic.
What are they going to say next? Trump won't release his son's laptop. Trump's son was on drugs.
Yeah, Trump's son was on drugs. Trump's son was smoking crack and speeding through residential neighborhoods. It's insane. It's insane. But they'll gaslight. They'll continue to gaslight, and they'll come up with more wacky, crazy conspiracy theories. They like to say that we're the ones with the tinfoil hats on, but there's a new conspiracy theory floating around from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz about Trump using the military to round up Americans that don't agree with him. When Tim Walz said it, I was like, what a nut. And then when Kamala said it, I was like, oh my gosh, is this the new talking point? I think it's the new talking point. I'll bring you that audio next. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Up ahead in the news, following the money trail as the House Speaker reports some big donation numbers. Also, 2 people, both with previous convictions, have been arrested for the TSU homecoming shooting on Saturday. Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It's 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So I found this video on Twitter, and it's Tim Walz, and it looks like he's backstage, and he's talking to supporters, look like campaign staff. But he's telling them Trump is going to send the U.S. Army after them if he wins. And I was like, what? It's a weird way to get your staff riled up, but okay. This is Walz talking to that staff, those supporters. What looks like backstage in this Twitter video.
Donald Trump over the weekend was talking about using the U.S. Army against people who disagree with him. Just so you're clear about that, that's you. That's what he's talking about. This is not some mythical thing out there. He called it the enemy within.
I think Tim Walz, somebody needs to check on him. Donald Trump is not sending the Army after Kamala Walz supporters.
Maybe we should get his medical records as well, just to be sure.
Just to clear everything up. So I thought that was weird, and I was like, man, that's a weird thing. You're riling up your staff, your supporters backstage. But then he repeats the same thing on stage in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at a rally.
He suggested that he is going to send the military against the enemy from within. Now, I want you to think about it. In other words, Americans who don't support him. Just to be clear, if any of your neighbors or friends or anybody thinks about that, you know who he's talking about? He's talking about you.
Weird. That's weird, right? Trump is going to send the Army after you. Okay. All right. So now I'm thinking this is insane. This is insane, right? This is the new talking point. And sure enough, Kamala Harris was on stage in Pennsylvania, and she told the crowd that Trump will put them in camps.
He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania. He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them. Think about this.
Yeah, think about it. I did, actually. There's only one side that's promised re-education camps, right? Remember when Hillary Clinton said that? We're going to need some sort of re-education camp? Donald Trump is not going to use the military to go after Harris Walz supporters. But this is the new hoax. This is the new talking point. And this is just another example of the panic, fear, and desperation of the radical left. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, good morning. It is now 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're sitting at 53, and some cloudy skies. Now our high temp just 61. Stick around for the forecast in a couple of moments. House Speaker Mike Johnson hauling in a record $27.5 million in the third quarter this year, and that's the most money ever raised by a Republican speaker during the third quarter leading up to Election Day. Republicans hold an 8-seat majority in the House, and control for the chamber is up for grabs in the election in just 3 weeks. Well, today, U.S. Supreme Court justices hear a case over seeking monetary damages under the RICO Act. That case involves a truck driver, his name is Douglas Horn, who failed a drug test and lost his job after taking a CBD product. Horn says the product advertised as having no THC and that he was misled. Well, he sued the company under the RICO Act, and justices will determine whether that is admissible. or whether Horn's case should fall under a personal injury claim.
Nationally, does this case open the floodgates to more product liability claims under the RICO Act? If you sue under RICO, you're eligible for a heck of a lot more money than you would under other parts of federal law. So the impact of this case could be significant. And after today's arguments, we expect a decision sometime early next year.
It's ABC's Devin Dwyer reporting. 2 suspected shooters near Tennessee State University, which left 1 person dead and 9 others injured. They've been arrested. Metro Nashville police have charged Marquez Davis and DeAnthony Brown, both 24 years old, with criminal homicide. Metro police say there were 5 shooters in total, all of them gang members. One of the gang members was shot and killed during that incident on Saturday. A new CDC report shows that 1 in 36 children in Tennessee were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder in 2023, an increase from the year before and reflecting a similar trend nationwide. But the CDC says the uptick is not likely due to more cases, but better screening and reporting. And a court has ordered TVA to stop construction immediately on its Cumberland gas pipeline after an environmental group asked a judge to review 2 water quality permits. Those groups say the pipelines would cross water sources and any explosions through rock would cause damage. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
He suggested that he is going to send the military against the enemy from within. Now, I want you to think about it. In other words, Americans who don't support him. Just to be clear, if any of your neighbors or friends or anybody thinks about that, you know who he's talking about? He's talking about you.
Yeah, it's really rich coming from a guy that used his National Guard to terrorize his own citizens in Minneapolis during the Summer of Love. We've all seen the video of the National Guard that Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz unleashed. when they were firing paintballs at citizens who had the audacity to sit on their front porch. But yes, Donald Trump will send the military after Harris Walt's supporters. All right, yeah. Make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. This is the new talking point from the left. Donald Trump is going to send the military after you.
He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania.
Oh, she's just so whiny. Isn't she so whiny?
He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them.
Yeah, the rhetoric from the left in no way has influenced any of the assassination attempts against Donald J. Trump, right? No, in no way. No way whatsoever. No, it's not. It's this is the real thing. Not an act. Not an act. But this is the panic. This is the panic from the left. This is why Kamala is going to be going on Fox News. This is why she's enlisting the help of Bill Clinton. This is why they're having Obama go out to address the brothers in the room about why they're not voting for Kamala Harris. This is why she's enlisted Michelle Obama to help her just turn things around. Michelle Obama has a plan to turn things around. Now you tell me what you think about this plan. Okay, 615-737-9986. You're having a problem with males, right? Generally speaking, the male vote is not really a fan of Kamala, whether you're black, white, or other. But Michelle Obama has a plan to fix that, and make up the ground that Kamala is losing in swing states. Do you want to know what her plan is? Drag queens and Cardi B. I'm not making this up. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's the best plan, but it sure as heck is the plan. Michelle Obama is promising men in dresses and WAP, as the kids say, as part of an initiative called Party at the Polls, a series of live performances that are set to take place in swing states from now to Election Day. And the goal is to motivate Democrats to cast their vote for Kamala Harris. In the places where she's losing ground to Donald Trump. In Arizona, where Trump has a slight lead over Harris, Michelle Obama's When We All Vote organization is going to hold a Get Out the Vote drag show in Phoenix. I don't know if this is the best idea when you're trying to court the male vote. As Obama said, when you're trying to get the brothers. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if it's going to motivate men when you have drag queens performing. But that's what they're doing. And they're doing that on October 18th in Phoenix. They got another one happening in Nevada. Nevada. I always get yelled at when I say Nevada. It's Nevada, like Apple, Nevada.
Nevada.
They're doing it in Nevada. Another show, October 29th, featuring a performer known as Plasma.
Because that's what it is, though. It's a show. It's not a campaign. It's not an actual rally. It's a show where they perform to get your attention.
This is what they're doing, and they're having a performer known as Plasma from RuPaul's Drag Race going to Nevada on October 29th. It is definitely a strategy. It is definitely a plan. It's definitely a plan. Recent polling shows Trump and Harris are tied in Nevada, which went for Biden 4 years ago. But Trump, I think, is doing pretty good in Nevada despite the polls. I mean, his promise for no tax on tips really rings true in that state because so many people are dependent on tips in the service industry with the casinos and the like. In fact, that promise went over so well that Kamala Harris stole it and presented it as her own, even though she was the deciding vote in the Senate, allowing the federal government to go after your income when it comes to tips for the purpose of taxing it. Yep. So Kamala Harris, she's got Michelle Obama out there helping her. When we all vote. I think the most surprising thing to me about this when we all vote stuff is the one in Georgia. Because the one in Georgia, they're bringing voters together at one music fest on October 26th and 27th featuring Cardi B. And that kind of blew my mind because Cardi B, after getting absolutely demolished by Candace Owens on the internet when she was supporting Joe Biden, has kind of turned over a new leaf and was like, these prices are crazy. The inflation is insane. She had previously sworn off presidential endorsements this cycle. She's expressed regret for voting for Joe Biden in 2020. I thought she turned over a new leaf. Apparently the checks are too good, and she had to take the money. In 2023, she said, I'm not endorsing no effing president no more, saying that while New York City was facing steep budget cuts, Joe Biden's talk about, yeah, we can fund 2 wars, but we can't afford this. But she's back in the swing of things. Is it just me, or when you see celebrities supporting Kamala Harris, you're just like, not you. Not you too. I'll tell you, this poster has a few artists that I know. One of them is Nelly, that's going to be going to this Cardi B concert, which that one didn't shock me. But I was a little bit disappointed in Method Man. Method Man is on the poster. And I was like, not meth. Say it ain't so, meth. Say it ain't so. But apparently it's so.
Separate the art from the artist. We'll keep his music playing, but
that one hurt me.
Yeah.
That one hurt.
That one's rough.
I have a Method Man bumper that we use.
Yeah.
That one too close to home.
Yeah. You want me to chop it? I'll chop it, man. I don't want to.
I think we should drop it. Well, we'll make the decision after the show today. But not you, Meth. And Cardi B, you know better. You know better. But this is what they do. They come through once every 4 years, and they certainly care about the black population just enough to get their vote and then forget about them again. And we've seen this time and time again. This is why Kamala's plan to court the black vote is just now happening once she realizes that the black male voters aren't going to be turning out for her. She's sent Obama out to chastise them, and now she's promising black entrepreneurs business loans, $20,000 for 1 million black male entrepreneurs. Replace it with any other race and any other candidate, and they would call it racist. If Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said, we need to make sure that white males are given these loans, they would be screaming from the mountaintops how racist and evil the orange man is. But because it's Kamala Harris and it's the black community, it's like, wow, so stunning and brave. It's unbelievable. But she's just courting people because she knows that she's not winning the vote. And she's not winning the vote because of the policies. And she's not winning the vote because of her radical stances on so many issues, like when it comes to the gender ideology, when it comes to paying for gender swap operations for inmates and illegal aliens. You know, Charlemagne, they played that on his show. And he's a big host of the New York City show Breakfast Club. It's syndicated all over the country. They're in a bunch of major markets. Even he's like, when that came on during college football, I was like, I don't want my tax dollars going to that. I don't want that. It's not working. And you're trying to court these voters back with these empty promises of free money, and nothing is for free. And then Michelle Obama doubling down on the stuff that's pushing them away with drag shows in swing states. I don't know. Don't interrupt your enemies while they're making a mistake, right? Isn't that one of the Sun Tzu rules of war? Don't interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake. I feel like they're making a lot of mistakes here. But maybe they're smarter than me. Steven, on the road, your thoughts on the Harris plan?
Yep. Hey, man. Yeah, I'm just hearing a bunch of same old stuff. I'm just wondering, how soon the echo chamber is going to begin trying to repeat all this. It's brainwash, really, is what she's doing. Who's really – we all know – everybody knows what Trump's going to do. He's not some kind of radical dictator who's going to send our own country's police forces against our own people. He's completely against that. He's 100% opposite of that. He wants to put America first. So I don't even think she actually believes what she's saying. She's saying what she's being told to say. It's kind of like a room full of people a room full of idiots sitting around and trying to get ideas off of each other. Let's see what we can turn what Trump is saying, and then it'll go from Kamala will say it or Tim Walz will say it, and then it'll go to The View. The View will start saying it, and then ABC, NBC, and it just keeps coming out of the same old little group of idiots that are just creating rumors, false rumors, and it's just brainwash. That's all it is. But
yep.
I want to know more details. I know you said something about part of her plan for black males, and I hate to even talk about this because there's nothing. I think most of the country would love to see a black president. We've already had one, kinda. It don't matter if it's a half and half or if it's a full-blooded whatever. I'd like to see a Native American president. I'd like to see a female president. Anybody who's qualified to do the job, though, not just somebody picked because of their skin color.
Amen.
But so what are some of the details now that she's targeting black men and trying to give them, what is it, a $20,000 loan to start
a forgivable loan, Steve? And I'll break it down for you. I appreciate your call. So yesterday, she unveiled her opportunity agenda for black men, which includes a plan to give out 1 million forgivable loans to black entrepreneurs. The campaign co-chair, Cedric Richmond, said in a statement, this agenda is a further realization of Vice President Harris's opportunity economy, an economy where people don't just get by, but get ahead, where black men are equipped with the tools to thrive, to buy a home, provide for our families, start a business, and build wealth, CNBC reported. The plan is going to give out 1 million loans of up to $20,000 that are fully forgivable to black entrepreneurs and others to start businesses. The loans would be financed through partnerships with mission-driven lenders, community banks, and the Small Business Administration. The announcement, though, it's so late in the cycle, and it's up against the backdrop of Harris losing black male voter support. So she wants to shore that up. The plan also includes mentorship programs and training to help black men get jobs in high-demand industries, as well as additional investments in the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program to help recruit and retain black male teachers. I'm not against any of this happening. I'm just against doing it for one specific group. You open it up for all Americans based on if they qualify or not and let the chips fall where they may. That's how that stuff makes sense. And she's also going after the black male vote by vowing to support federal-level marijuana legalization, which just seems racist, does it not? She said an economy where people don't just get by but get ahead, where black men are equipped with the tools to thrive, buy a home, provide for our families, start a business, and build wealth. That's the campaign statement. She will also fight to ensure that as the national cannabis industry takes shape, black men who have for years been over-policed for marijuana use are able to access wealth and jobs in this new market. According to CNN's 2020 exit polling, overall 87% of black voters cast their ballot for Biden, while 12% voted for Trump. But the poll released on Saturday found that 78% of black voters plan to vote for Harris, with 15% saying they'd vote for Trump. That's wild. That jump is wild. 20% of black male voters said they would cast their ballot for Trump, compared to 70% who said they would vote for Harris. Among black women, 83% said they would vote for Harris. 12% said they would vote for Trump. These numbers, the increases don't seem small, right? Like the increases seem small, but the ramifications there are massive. This is a voting bloc that they absolutely need to win, and they're doing everything they can to shore it up. They only care about the black vote once every 4 years. I hate to break it to you. That's just the facts. Linda, Steve, we'll get to your calls next. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. It's 1021 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about it. You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about it.
Up ahead in the news, arrest in the shooting that took place Saturday during a homecoming celebration. And we'll tell you who's being added to Nashville's Walk of Fame. Those stories at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It's 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We were talking a moment ago about Cardi B back on the Democrat train. She's going to be helping Michelle Obama get people to vote for Kamala. And I mentioned that Method Man was on one of the posters. The super text line has devolved into a 50-50 battle of people not knowing who Method Man is and people disappointed in Method Man.
Sounds about right.
Sounds
about right, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm still disappointed.
I'm on the disappointed train right with you.
Yeah, very disappointed. If you don't know Method Man, don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could look him up, but
we canceled.
It's not worth the time.
Yeah. Linda in Tennessee thinks Kamala Harris is crazy. I think Linda's right. What's up, Linda?
Well, she's crazy. She's a liar. She is so undeserving of being vice president, let alone having the audacity to think that she has enough brains to be president.
But Linda, she is the best female vice president we've ever had.
And thank God for that. We don't need another one like her. I tell you, I'm thankful for the commercials that she's putting out because it gives me more fuel and encouragement to get out and talk to people about Trump.
I love it.
I take advantage of talking about Trump even in the grocery store.
You got it.
I'll ask people, hey, how do you like these grocery prices? Weren't they better when Trump was in? How much more do you think that Kamala is going to raise the things?
Yep.
And ask her about, how do you like the crime? I mean, we had shootings up in Nashville over the weekend. How do you like the crime? Do you feel safe when you go out anymore? How do you like all of this BS that's going on that is not producing anything productive for our country? It's only putting more money into their pockets because that's all they're interested in, is getting ahead, making money, and having the power.
Yep, absolutely. I appreciate the call, Linda. Thanks so much. You got to get out there and have those conversations. I was in North Carolina last week. We were on family vacation, and I wore my MAGA hat everywhere. I was hoping, begging that I would get into one of these conversations, those debates. It never really fully happened. But I will say this. I was very polite while I wore my MAGA hat, and I held doors for lots of ladies with purple hair. I said, come on in. I got the door for you. We know who they're voting for if they're there. But you have to meet people where they're at. You got to have these conversations. Now is the most important time to do it. Steve in Sparta, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris. Desperation breeds stupidity, and you can't fix stupid.
Yep.
So when you take a look at what they're trying to do, everything is out of desperation, and it all boils down to the first question she couldn't answer in the debate. And that is, are you better off today or are you better off 4 years ago? And a lot of people are going to vote that way.
Well, Steve, she did grow up in the middle class. I
I
appreciate.
think I heard that a time or two.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, man. Even SNL, they're kind of Kamala's lost SNL. They were making fun of her over the weekend doing the "I grew up in the middle class" thing. It's bad when the leftists over at SNL are even off the Kamala train. Also, did you see Dana Carvey on SNL doing Joe Biden? That's the Joe Biden that we've needed for the last 4 years. He was spot on. I don't want to give SNL too much credit because they were still cracking assassination attempt jokes during that same exact episode. But that's how bad it is for Kamala Harris right now, that even leftists over at SNL are distancing themselves from her. And they're distancing themselves from her for a number of reasons, from the economy to the border. And the border is the biggest story in the country, 100%. Still the biggest story. You had J.D. Vance versus Martha Raddatz over the weekend, who said only a handful of apartment complexes have been taken over, just a handful. And he said, do you hear yourself, Martha? Do you hear yourself right now? But it's actually a lot worse when it comes to Tren de Aragua. Not only are they taking over these apartment complexes, but they're also recruiting. They're looking for new members. And where are they looking? Well, they're looking in middle schools. I'll bring you that story after the news with Joan Jones. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 10:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're sitting at 56 degrees now. We're only going up to 61 today. The forecast is coming up. Nashville police have arrested two 24-year-olds who were taking cover in a short-term rental home last night. Those two were charged with shooting into the crowds as TSU students and families were celebrating homecoming on Saturday. Channel 4's Steve Mayling.
Listen to the full video, and you can hear around 40 to 50 total shots throughout. Metro Police believe it was two groups firing at each other, with bystanders caught in the crossfire.
Marquez Davis and DeAnthony Brown are in jail this morning. One person died in that shooting and 9 others were injured. Metro Nashville police are searching for a man seen driving away from Mill Run Park in Antioch after the shooting death of a woman near one of the park's trails last evening. Some visitors report hearing that woman yelling for help before the shooting. This woman tells Channel 4 she won't let the violence stop her from visiting the park.
It's not going to deter me from walking. I'm just going to be more safe about it because I still want to, try to be active as I can.
Police say the man drove off in a 4-door gray car. Well, guess whose name is being added to Nashville's Walk of Fame? Country star Luke Combs is getting a spot on Nashville's Music Mile landmark October 30th during an induction ceremony. Great timing, too. Combs' new bar, Category 10, is slated to open November 2nd in downtown Nashville. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs.
He's right, J.D. Vance with Martha Raddatz over the weekend. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I'll follow back. J.D., just putting on a master clinic with Martha Raddatz. Only a handful? And the expression on his face says it all. He almost busts out laughing. And I feel like a lot of Americans feel this way when they're listening to the mainstream media. Only a handful. Oh, that's actually no big deal then, right? How many apartment complexes is enough? How many? The New York Post has a story out. They released it late last night. Aurora apartment worker beaten to a pulp by Tren de Aragua as owners say migrant gang took over and tried to extort them. And it includes this apartment building employee. Busted up, man. Blood all over his shirt, black eyes, busted up lip. But, this is only happening to a handful of apartment complex workers by illegal alien violent gangs, right? So it's not a big deal if you're following the Martha Raddatz ABC logic. It's only a handful. So no big deal. No big deal. These are newcomers. They're acclimating. They're acclimating to how we do things. So no big deal. But the fed up landlord in Denver, the Denver suburb of Aurora, shared a bloody photo of one of its workers after the man was allegedly beaten to a pulp by members of the brutal Venezuelan prison gang for refusing to let them stay in a vacant apartment they had taken over. This is from the New York Post. Essentially, the story goes like this. The guy's working at the apartment complex. He walks by an apartment that should be empty. There's a bunch of people in there. These guys can't be here. They say, hey, man, how about you take this money and look the other way? He says, I can't do that. They say, you have to do that. He says, I'm not going to do that. He gets beaten to a pulp. Only a handful of instances like this, so no big deal. Local cops and FBI were asked to help stop the extortion, but refused to step in, according to CBZ Management. That's who runs these apartment complexes. Gangs have taken control of several of our properties in Aurora, Colorado, the company wrote in a thread on Twitter last week. In an attempt to discredit this fact for political purposes and avoid government accountability, some have spread false information about our situation. The company, which owns and had managed the properties, posted multiple surveillance videos from its apartment complexes, including the footage of the beating of the employee late last year. And it says it proves that the gang has a foothold in Aurora. The firm said that as a result of the criminal behavior and threats, it has no choice but to pull its workers back from its apartment complexes in the city of Aurora. Despite clear evidence, many still deny the reality of the situation, sometimes using us as scapegoats. That's why we're no longer staying silent, the company wrote. Good for the company. They must be infuriated when they hear Martha Raddatz go.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself?
Only a handful. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? I heard Mandis saying this morning. That should be one of our new slogans here on the right. The conservatives should just respond with, "Do you hear yourself?" I loved it when Mandis did it. It says you're gonna put tampons in elementary school boys' bathrooms. Do you hear yourself? It's brilliant. It's so good. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? Well, the one thing that the mainstream media doesn't hear is the citizens of Aurora, Colorado. And the citizens of Aurora, Colorado, they're speaking out amid these gang takeovers, and they're not happy. Spoiler alert. They're fed up. They can't believe what's going on. One Marine Corps veteran and Aurora resident told DailyMail.com, I'm from Aurora, Colorado, born and raised in Denver and Aurora. I went to the Marine Corps for 8 years and I came back home. As far as the migrant situation is concerned, I'm going to be honest with you. The news and the media and the Democrats are covering it up because it's bad for politics. Yeah. It's bad for business. He said TDA gang activity is real and it's just spreading across the communities that they're picking, noting how the gang activity is not happening in nicer areas. He said they're not sending them to Highlands Ranch. They're not sending them to Cherry Hills Village. They're not sending them to Boulder, and they're not sending them to Fort Collins. No. This is not for the wealthy and the affluent. These migrants are for the middle class, right? So the fact of the matter is they're sending them to black communities, which is a conflict of interest considering the cost of inflation has went up. Everything's gotten more expensive. People can't afford to pay for childcare. It's a conflict of interest. We've said this multiple times. Listen, with the illegal immigration, it's going to hurt disadvantaged communities first. And this resident, Marine Corps veteran, says, yeah, they're sending the illegal aliens to the black neighborhoods. Not a good look, especially if you're trying to court the black vote like Kamala Harris is. Not a good look. Another resident of Aurora, Courtney, who lives 20 minutes from the apartment where the migrant gang activity was filmed, said to Daily Mail, all of Aurora has just gone downhill. All of it. The majority of Colorado has been overrun between the homeless and the drugs and the illegal aliens. Who would want to live in Colorado right now? I'm not signing up for that. When pressed on if she had seen anything suspicious, Courtney said she hadn't seen anything firsthand, but read a lot about it on social media. Another Colorado resident, Jen, told DailyMail.com, I've heard that they're taking over parts of Aurora. They're also down in Denver, but I hear they're financing themselves through breaking into gun stores and jewelry stores. That's nice. That's nice. I mean, that's from the residents themselves. It's only a handful of problems, right? It couldn't get any worse. Well, it will get worse. In Texas, a Tren de Aragua gang member was arrested for recruiting at a Houston middle school. At a middle school. Texas Department of Public Safety troopers arrested a Venezuelan migrant for allegedly recruiting middle school students into the violent Tren de Aragua gang. Texas DPS troopers arrested 32-year-old, I can't pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try. They arrested a 32-year-old Venezuelan illegal alien in Houston on October 7th. Fox 26 reported the arrest of the Venezuelan migrant who entered the U.S. illegally during the Biden-Harris administration sent shockwaves through the southwest Houston community of Sharpstown because he's suspected of recruiting middle school students to join Tren de Aragua. Insane. So, before we know it, Tren de Aragua is going to feature American citizens too, maybe even middle schoolers coming to a community near you, right? Eric in Morristown wants to talk about the gangs. You're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Eric?
Hey, good morning, man. Thanks for my call. Hey, real quick, man, you guys are talking about the Tren de Aragua. Now, first thing you notice, or maybe some people have noticed, this happened late last year. This was a year ago.
Yep.
What's going on now? Okay, the horse took off. The gate. Yeah, we should shut the gate, but the horse took off, man. The horse is downrange. I was at the barber shop today and talking with the barber. Do you remember back in the day when the late 80s, early 90s, the federal government and everybody and their mama was coming after the mob, the Italian mafia, the five families, okay? Were there illegal alien problems and crime rampant with what do you call it, apartment complexes being taken over when the mob was around? No. I don't remember that, and I'm showing my age here. I'm in my early 50s. I don't remember that going on when the mob was around. Everybody, Rudy Giuliani, we're going to clean up the mob in New York City, this, that, and the other, and that's what he rose to fame on as a U.S. attorney, and then was elected once or twice in New York City for cleaning up the mob. He was tough on crime, this, that, and the other. Is that going on now? I say bring the mob back and we clean this place up, because they kept the neighborhoods where they're in their place, so to speak.
Yeah.
Everybody's neighborhood was orderly, so to speak. They didn't mess around with kids. They didn't mess around with old people. The only people that they were dealt with were those that were in the within the family, in the lifestyle, so to speak.
Yep.
Now I know it's a little tongue in cheek going on here. Obviously, fight crime with crime, so to speak. But they weren't going around middle schools recruiting people to sell dope. They weren't having kids selling fentanyl in the middle schools. I could tell you stories around here that maybe shouldn't be broadcast, so to speak, about what happens in the middle schools around here with the so-called dreamers, if you will, and I'm putting that in quotations. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I think that and I'm not going to say the GOP because they're not doing it. They're almost as useless as on a bore. But I think that it sounds again tongue in cheek. Bring the mob back. There wasn't these problems going on.
But even
nicer too.
In Chicago at the city hall meetings, this was this is last year. They're saying with all the illegal aliens coming in, they're bringing their gangs, they're bringing their crime, and if local officials don't settle it, they're going to settle it in the streets. And it's you do find yourself rooting for American criminals to handle the problem that the government shouldn't have let happen in the first place.
Isn't that ironic? I mean, it's almost like a bizarro world going on here. How should I say this? Yeah, that stuff was going on last year, but were there drive-by shootings in everybody's neighborhoods? Were there guns in schools? So maybe here and there, onesie, twosies. Not like now. Why? Because they kept a lid on things. They kept it. I don't want to. Gosh, I sound like I'm in the Godfather movie. They kept it respectable to a certain extent. Okay, and the only people that are getting whacked within the mob were other wise guys, so to speak. They didn't have any of these problems. The Jamaican gangs that came into New York City, they got dealt with too. They were, you don't hear about the Jamaican gangs going on in, Harlem anymore, or, even in Washington, D.C. area for those in the mid-Atlantic states. Heck, even Richmond, Virginia, they kept the lid on things. Yeah, sure, you had your little gangbangers, wannabes or whatever, but that stuff was squashed quickly. And here's the second thing. Because a lot of those, how should I say, the dissolution of the American family is also going on. Because when I was a kid, I was afraid of what the neighbor would tell my mom. I was more afraid of more afraid of my parents, if you will, than I was the police officers.
100%.
I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to call, please, save me, officer. My mom's going to drown me for 10 years. But anyway, thanks for letting me vent, man. Yeah, bring back the mob. Sounds tongue in cheek, but there's a little seriousness behind it. I appreciate your show, man. Thanks.
Hey, appreciate you, Eric. Eric in Morristown. Yeah, make the mafia great again. No, it is tongue in cheek, but it's like you do feel a sense of the people in power aren't doing anything to fix these problems. The people in power are causing the problems. So you do find yourself rooting for the American criminal to do what the people in power won't. I don't think Eric is alone in feeling that way. And when I look at the super text line, there's a lot of people that agree with Eric. A lot. I mean, the flip side is we keep letting these gangs take over apartment complexes. The flip side is we keep letting these gangs recruit American kids in middle schools to do their dirty work. That's the flip side. The flip side is a continuation of the policies that got us here if we let Kamala Harris win in November. That's the flip side. I will say, though, I think a majority of the American population understands exactly what's at stake here, without a doubt. And I think come November 5th, we're going to see the American people vote to get a guy back in office that will actually handle this problem and take it seriously. That's what I think. And if you listen to the stories that's coming out because of this wide open southern border, it's insane. It's insane. And every day we get another one. Every day we get a new story. Wait until you hear what the feds have admitted when it comes to the numbers of child sex trafficking victims under this administration. It's disturbing. These people should be treated like criminals for allowing this to happen. I'll bring you these numbers that the feds have admitted when we get back. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friends at Kingdom Fence Company. These guys are great. They want their fence to tell the story of your land, and they're good Christians, hardworking, and they put their faith in their company so you can put your faith in their fence. They're serving all of Middle Tennessee, residential, commercial, farm, agricultural, chain link to privacy to vinyl to aluminum to pool fence or dog fence. They'll do it all. New, repair, or insurance. Call them today, 615-390-5891, 615-390-5891, online at kingdomfencecompanyllc.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Vanderbilt patients are speaking out about exposure to diseases. And the U.S. Supreme Court hearing a case about a truck driver who lost his job after taking a CBD product he says was improperly labeled. We'll tell you about it at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It is 10:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, just a reminder, we have a big Election Day party happening at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. It's going to be an absolute blast. Brian will be out there starting at 3 o'clock, November 5th, broadcasting live. Myself, Mandis, Murphy, we're going to be there, and we want you there. It's free to come, free to join, right? We're going to have vendors, huge room at the agriculture building, and it's going to be a blast, right? But for $100, you can get a VIP ticket. And the VIP ticket includes free food, free alcohol, front row seating, and a WTN goodie bag. There's only about 100 VIP tickets available.
That sounds too good, man.
Too good to be true. 997WTN.com to get that. 997WTN.com for the info on that. On the way, the feds admit some astonishing numbers when it comes to child sex trafficking in this country. You're not going to want to miss this story. You're not going to be surprised by this story, but you may be a bit horrified that this is happening in America in 2024. I'll tell you about it next. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 11 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Vanderbilt University Medical Center warning some patients they may have been exposed to HIV or hepatitis due to unsterilized equipment. This patient, Johnny Mozingo, tells Fox 17 he received a phone call 3 months after having a colonoscopy.
It was absolutely terrifying and trembling.
He says the woman on the phone told him it was related to a solution they used. He and other patients report they were not given guidance on what to do next and how to prevent transmission to their spouses and loved ones. Vanderbilt said in a statement to Fox 17 the problem has been corrected. Some of the patients say they plan to sue. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court hearing a case about the reach of seeking monetary damages under the RICO Act. This case involves a truck driver, Douglas Horn, who failed a drug test and lost his job after taking a CBD product. Horn says the product advertised as having no THC and that he was misled. He sued the company under the RICO Act, and justices will determine whether that's admissible or whether Horn's case should fall under a personal injury claim. We get more from Devin Dwyer.
Congress passed that law, you may have heard of RICO, to go after mobsters, to go after organized crime. In doing so, they allowed people who were injured by those corrupt business practices in their business or their property to seek damages for it. Now, Congress and the courts have said that you can't seek damages for personal bodily injury, but you can seek it when your business or your property are injured.
That unsolicited email or pop-up warning you about a problem with your computer? Chances are it's some scammer on a fishing expedition. Jim Ryan says the FBI is warning consumers not to take the bait.
The person sending that email is posing as a friendly tech support specialist who's watching your computer for problems. But think about it.
There are not enough tech support people in this world to be monitoring every computer that is out there.
The FBI's Jeffrey Reisinger says the fake tech person will at some point request payment for services, money moved into a crypto wallet.
When you move that money into that new wallet, the money is then gone.
Americans last year lost $1.6 billion to tech support schemes like that one.
When stocking up your pantry for Thanksgiving, economists suggest shopping around. Dr. Michael Swanson's the chief agricultural economist for Wells Fargo. He's noted where we're seeing increased costs for these holiday menu items.
We saw branded food for Thanksgiving come down about 0.5% so far this year, and we saw private label up about 2.5%.
Wells Fargo has noted vegetables such as sweet potatoes and russet potatoes cost a little more. Ham will also ring up higher at the checkout this year, but the cost of a turkey per pound is less than last year. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.1106 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. One of the biggest issues for voters we head to the polls. Early voting is starting, right? I can't get myself to do the early voting. I'm still going to do day of, but you do you, however you want to do it. I think that's one of the best things. We have all these options, right? I'll be voting on November 5th. I know Dan and Joan and Johnny were talking this morning. They're going to get their early voting done tomorrow.
I'm day of, brother Chris.
You're day of, too?
Day of, brother.
I just can't, I'm not knocking anybody for doing it. I just can't bring myself to do that.
I just don't trust.
I want to walk across the street to that little church and
there you go.
Cast my ballot in person.
There you go.
I don't blame anybody for wanting to vote early. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm getting off the show that day. But pushing right over.
As we're heading towards the election, one of the biggest issues is the southern border. And the feds, oh my gosh. The numbers that they have for child sex trafficking under Harris and Biden, she's the border czar, have tripled under them. Youth sex trafficking and its myriad cruelties tripled under President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, according to a report in thefreepress.com. Breitbart has the breakdown. The Free Press describes some of the harms inflicted on youth migrants under the lax policies set by Biden's border chief, Alejandro Mayorkas, under his tenure. And it's awful. It's absolutely awful. I'll read you an excerpt. Sex trafficking victims often suffer horrific abuse, as I discovered when I spoke to Landon Dickinson, a 36-year-old executive director for Bob's House of Hope in Denton, Texas, the only shelter for male sex trafficking victims ages 18 and up in the country. Dickinson says they've seen teens from Central and South America who have been so tortured by their traffickers they can barely function. Dickinson described caring for teens who have brain damage from being so heavily drugged. Teens who have had their fingernails pulled out, lemon juice poured on their wounds, When I asked to interview one of the migrant residents, Dickinson said they simply weren't in any condition to speak to anyone, much less a reporter. We think the cartels and gangs use torture as a control method for the males. They're not going to fight back if they chain their victims to a radiator, beat them up frequently, or drug them. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. The Breitbart article continues. The abuse and prostitution may be forced on young migrants who are indebted to smugglers and their affiliated trafficking gangs in the United States. If they cannot pay their debts, their families can lose farms and homes to the banks that hold the loans. The rising number of youth sex trafficking cases were posted at the Department of Health and Human Services when the Free Press demanded the data under a Freedom of Information Act. They got it through a FOIA request. The agency is responsible for checking and issuing certification eligibility letters to children and youths who request aid after escaping sex traffickers. The agency listed 1,143 letters in 2021, 2,226 letters in 2022, and 2,148 letters in 2024 under the welcome policies set by Border Chief Alejandro Mayorkas. The agency has not posted any data since the first week of September 2023. The incomplete data adds up to 5,517 letters since October 2020, an average of 1,837 letters per year. Under President Trump, the number of those letters averaged 562 per year, or 1/3 of the record reached under the guidance of these so-called progressives. They never want to talk about the human cost at the border. They never want to address the sex trafficking that's going on at the border. And the number of child cases under Biden and Mayorkas is 3 times the adult caseload, according to the agency data. The number of child cases under Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas is 3 times larger than the adult caseload. They always say we have to be compassionate. We have to have a heart. We have to welcome these people in and help them. But this is the least compassionate thing we can do. These poor kids. These poor kids. Breitbart article continues. Mayorkas' easy migration policies were unchallenged by Harris when she ran away from the border issue in 2021 as Biden tried weakly to get control over Mayorkas and his business backers. She also endorsed Mayorkas' overall policies in her campaign's economic platform. There's likely to be some fraud in the process, like in the U visa for crime victims, because it allows youths to be treated as refugees and put on a fast track to the very valuable prize of citizenship. But there's so much evidence that many of the 540,000 unaccompanied children welcomed by Mayorkas either volunteer for abusive work or are forced into abusive work. At least 50% of the unaccompanied alien children are older teenagers or are young men who pretend to be younger than 19. Federal investigation into sexual trafficking of unaccompanied alien children under President Trump were stymied when then Senator Kamala Harris added language to a spending bill that barred information sharing with Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement Agency. The federal agencies have done little to stop the sex trafficking at the border. And whistleblowers echoed that to the Free Press. Deborah White is another whistleblower who worked at the same government-funded shelter, testified that migrant children were handed over to improperly vetted sponsors who use fraudulent IDs and different addresses to procure numerous unrelated children. She said I had multiple cases that I reported on, meaning she reported suspicious sponsors to her supervisor. One in particular, they had sent 329 children to one address, 2 garden apartment buildings in Houston. The supervisor, White told the Free Press in an interview, took no steps to investigate further, but instead told White that she wasn't moving the migrant kids out of the facility quickly enough. It's disgusting. 329 children to one address. What could possibly be the reason for that? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And these policies will continue if Kamala Harris is elected in November. Amid the youth's sexual torture, prostitution, and trafficking. Progressives have happily thrown charges of bigotry and racism at any American who just wants to speak out against it, right? Any American who has the audacity to want border laws enforced, well, you're a bigot. Any American who wants security on the southern border, you're xenophobic and you're a racist, right? Yeah, that's what they do. But the names they call us mean nothing, right? The boos mean nothing. We've seen what makes them cheer. Part of that migrant-enabled economic might that they always say we have to have it, right? Oh, Bill Clinton was saying this yesterday in Georgia. Oh, we're not having babies at the rate of replacement. We need to welcome in these migrants. But some of that economic might that they want to bring in comes from the covert employment of child migrants. It was February 2023. The New York Times described the scale of workplace abuse, complete with photographs and captions, talking about kids working construction jobs instead of going to school at 14 years old, or a young girl packaging Cheerios in a factory at night. She's 15. It's awful. But the newspaper stopped following the child labor issue it touched on when it came to Mayorkas and his extraction, migration, economic policy. Similarly, the New York Times has posted intermittent articles about the sexual abuse of migrants, but it doesn't allow the coverage to taint the progressive claim to be the good guys in migration policy or the establishment narrative that the United States is a nation of immigrants, right? We can't sully any of that. In general, editors at establishment media sites prefer to hire pro-migration reporters to cover the migration beat, of course, and then in turn, those reporters, well, they focus on empathy and emotional ploys to get you to agree with them, right? That's what they do. They want you to focus on empathy. Have a heart, will you? It's crazy. In September 2023, federal agencies and Houston police announced they had arrested 10 human traffickers. You probably remember this story. Numerous young girls will no longer be raped, sexually exploited, and beaten by individuals arrested during this operation, thanks to efforts made by our partners at the Houston Police Department, the U.S. Marshals Service, Homeland Security Investigations, and the agencies who make up the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance, said the FBI Houston Acting Special Agent in charge, David Martinez. Tragically, he said, hundreds more underage sex trafficking victims won't be rescued because we do not know about them. And without the public's help, tormented sex trafficking victims remain in the clutches of manipulative criminals who only seek to enrich themselves at the expense of these vulnerable juveniles. While that may be true, a lot of this could be stopped at the border. A lot of this could be stopped with proper vetting. A lot of this could be stopped by having these conversations instead of just sending 300 kids to the same address. It's crazy. That operation in Houston back in September 2023, the mainstream media didn't cover it. It got minimal coverage. Mayorkas's DHS press office, they didn't announce the arrest. They didn't. Soon after, though, the media announced new services to help migrants apply for benefits, though. Yeah, that's how the media covers the southern border. And some say, weirdly, Mayorkas repeatedly describes himself as a moral champion for migrants because his parents were immigrants. He says he has sympathy for migrants, and he supports equity between Americans and foreigners, yet he just leaves out the part about the kids being sold into sexual slavery. How are we as Americans in 2024 turning a blind eye to this? How does the left reconcile with turning a blind eye to this? How does the mainstream media reconcile with themselves at night turning a blind eye to this? They shouldn't. They shouldn't be able to look themselves in the mirror or sleep. Yet they do, and then they get their checks and they cash them. It's disgusting. But the headline is the most jarring. Feds admit child sex trafficking reports triple under Harris and Biden. Triple. That's just the reports, guys. It's the reports that have tripled. The actual numbers could be far greater than that. And that's what happens when you have a wide open southern border, a complacent media that doesn't want to cover it, and people screaming racist at anyone that points it out. Insanity. Absolute insanity. But it doesn't shock me one bit. And I know it doesn't shock you. It's heartbreaking. And it's one of the least compassionate things that they tell us is compassionate, letting these kids in and sending them off to homes that have been unvetted. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But this is life in 2024 in America. This is what's going to continue if we allow Kamala Harris to be reelected. Because let's be honest, she's been running the country, right? Joe Biden's not running the country. It's Kamala and the puppet masters behind her pulling the strings. Absolute insanity. This story should be broadcast everywhere. This should be one of the lead stories on ABC. This should be one of the lead stories on CBS, NBC, Fox. But it won't. It won't. Because they all want to help Kamala get elected. And stuff like this will throw a wrench in that plan. So don't expect to hear it anywhere else. But we'll cover this news for you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:20. I'm Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. Listen, if you're paying for your own health insurance or if you're looking for coverage, don't go online looking for quotes, right? You're just going to get endless calls from call centers, and they're not going to stop. Instead, just go right to the source. Call Shane Ring. He's an expert with over 20 years of experience, and he can provide you sound advice for your health insurance needs. We were talking yesterday about the differences between Medicare and Medicaid and Medicaid Advantage and all the things. I'm not an expert in that. Shane is, and Shane can answer all of your questions. He'll answer them, and he'll give you the info you need. Their plans, if you qualify, will let you pick your own doctor and are 30 to 60% lower in cost than Obamacare. The monthly premiums are independent of your income, so there'll be no surprise tax bills. If you pay for your own health insurance, if you own a small business, if you're uninsured, underinsured, if you're on COBRA, or if your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Shane Ring at Cover Nash. 615-465-0023. That's 615-465-0023. A lot of people doing open enrollment right now. Call Shane Ring at Cover Nash, 615-465-0023, or hit up the website, covernash.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
They are voting early in Georgia. Hear from the top election official there about how they're handling the lines. They're doing it a lot like a popular fast food restaurant does. Details at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. A friend just sent me this post on Twitter. At Chris Hand on Air. Says Donald Trump is a troll, and it's in a positive way. It's in a positive way. I don't know if you've heard this rant from Kamala Harris going at Donald Trump for dodging interviews and hiding his health issues from the American public, but it's one for the books.
Look, this man won't even debate me a second time. He won't even debate me a second time. He didn't do the 60 Minutes interview, which I believe every presidential candidate for President of the United States has done. He will not take up the important responsibility that every presidential candidate has done of showing their medical records. Okay?
Which you just did?
Which I have done. Of course I've done it. I have done that. I have challenged him to another debate. I have given up my medical records. I did the 60 Minutes interview. And one has to ask, what is Donald Trump trying to hide?
What's he trying to hide? You know, Kamala Harris dodged a Time magazine interview. That's pretty strange. Kamala Harris actually turned down the invite for the second debate on Fox News. And 60 Minutes, I mean, yeah, you did an interview with 60 Minutes, and most of it was left on the editing room floor, right? Well, Donald Trump, as this Twitter post puts it, Donald Trump remains a troll without peer. This is what he posted in response to that. As to her completely desperate request for my medical statements, she's dying to see my cholesterol, which is 180. I have already provided them many times, including quite recently, and they were flawless. Hold on. It goes on. However, I have just seen Kamala's report, and it is not good. According to her doctor's report, she suffers from urticaria, defined as a rash of round, red welts on the skin that itch intensely, sometimes with dangerous swelling. She also has allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis. A very messy and dangerous situation. These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning and others. What is this all about? I don't have these problems.
Oh.
A troll without peers. It's so good. It's so good. What is he hiding from? Well, my cholesterol's 180. This comes after also Kristen Welker over the weekend was doing all this with Mike Johnson too. And Mike just laughed at her because she asked him about the cholesterol of the president as well.
Speaker, that's what people are going to vote on. Just to be very clear, he hasn't released all of his medical records. He released 2 letters. Should he release the results of the cognitive test?
It's unnecessary. He's on display every minute.
So it's unnecessary. You concede that he didn't release his medical records. You don't want to know things like his cholesterol level, whether he's dealing with any issue that we may not know about, if he's going to be commander-in-chief. And he also said he would release cognitive tests.
Listen to your question.
Should he release that?
The American people, Kristen, the American people don't care about the cholesterol level of Donald Trump. They care about the cost of living and the fact they cannot pay for groceries because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's policies have put them in that situation. The medical records are irrelevant. Let's talk about things that the American people...
Yeah, the medical records are irrelevant. But when you hear her bring up the cholesterol levels of Donald Trump, do you smell that? Take a big whiff. That's desperation, folks.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, as a journalist, you ask the question and you let them answer. And you don't try to interrupt them when you don't like the answer.
But Ken, the American people deserve to know Donald Trump's cholesterol levels. Oh. Which apparently is 180. Is that good? I think that's pretty good.
As a journalist, I would ask that question. I would say, should the American people know his numbers? But if we don't, we don't. Yeah. And you move on.
Yep. And I think the numbers that the people really care about are the numbers of illegal aliens pouring over our southern border, the number of kids that are being sexually trafficked under Biden and Harris. That's the numbers Americans really do care about. The number of violent gang members being released into this country. I think those numbers are a bit more important than Trump's cholesterol levels. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm trapped in my own echo chamber. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Metro Police have 2 men, they say, with gang affiliations in custody for Saturday's shooting. Happened right after the TSU homecoming parade. Police say it had nothing to do with the parade and put a lot of innocent people in danger. Security video shows people terrified, scrambling for safety, and many are speaking out.
And I was having a ball, and then all of a sudden just chaos. To come for fun, and then, hold a child that's not mine. Yeah. I need people to understand that as a community, that's supposed to be a safe space. Yes. For everybody. A little girl crying out for her mom, and I'm covering her.
Police arrested 24-year-olds Marquez Davis and DeAnthony Brown at a short-term rental on 26th Avenue North and charged them both with criminal homicide last night. Today, early voting underway in Georgia. Elections officials say they're ready. They've implemented technologies they say will help people cast their ballots quickly and easily. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says wait times to vote have also come down since 2020. And he uses a Chick-fil-A analogy to ensure voters that his team is working on making lines less than an hour long.
We've watched what Chick-fil-A has done over the years and how they've managed their lines, and we think that someone needed to do that in the election space, and that's what our focus has been.
Business news, Walgreens will close 1,200 stores over the next 3 years, although it hasn't said which stores it will close. Walgreens operates about 8,500 stores across the U.S., The company has been struggling for years with tight reimbursement for its prescription drugs and the rising costs of operating its stores. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you. $11:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I always love talking about the Glock store. In fact, I talk about the Glock store even during commercial breaks. I went into the studio a moment ago and I was looking at Mason. I was like, dude, you got to come. I was like, you got to come train. We got to do the Glock store. Come with me. I was like, let's go. We'll go together because it is the best place to shoot and train. I actually got a new EDC over the weekend, and I'm just itching to get there and train with it. I can't wait. And the reason we always talk about the Glock store, the reason that we push it so hard is because it is that good. And they always do something fun to keep things getting better and better and better. Here's what they're doing in October. They have a spook house, only it's a shoot house. And it's a lot of fun. And if you complete the course, you might just win a $1,000 custom Glock for being the best shot of the month. It only costs $30 to run the course, and that includes 20 rounds of ammo. And to make it a level playing field, everyone will use the same model Glock handgun, which is included. You got to go to the Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly. who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
I'm just wondering if these polls hadn't tightened, would Kamala Harris be doing an interview with Fox right now?
Well, yeah, Neil, we enjoy coming on your air, and the vice president's looking forward to her interview with Brett tomorrow night. It's actually kind of a stark reminder that we're not really seeing Donald Trump do very many interviews. It's been about a month now since he did a mainstream media interview, and we got to wonder why. You know, we called this weekend for him to release his medical records. The vice president released her medical report from her doctor, Donald Trump's team. I heard him on your air last hour insisting that everything is okay and that there's nothing to see here. And your anchor rightly asked, well, if that's true, why not just put him out? And so I think that you're going to get to hear from the vice president tomorrow night about her vision for the country and what she's looking forward to presenting to Fox News viewers, including, for example, her proposal to make sure that seniors in-home care is covered under Medicare, a very important proposal to help people bring down the costs for seniors as well as their kids who might be taking care of an aging parent. And so these are the kind of ideas that she's talking about and looking forward to talking and answering, tough questions on Fox News about.
That's Ian Sams. He's one of the spokes guys, senior advisor for the Harris campaign, on Fox News with Neil Cavuto, pushing that conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is afraid to do interviews. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I'll follow you back. This stuff is just so funny and just reeks of desperation. Trump has done more interviews this election cycle than Harris since she became the nominee. He's reached more people through more different avenues than Kamala Harris could ever dream. There's rumors that Kamala's team is talking to Joe Rogan about a podcast, and I just hope that it happens. I really do. The Brett Baer stuff aside, I think Brett will do a fine job. It'll be okay. It's going to be pre-recorded. I don't expect it to be as tough as some people expect it to be. As Trump put it with Brett Baer, he likes to take it easy on the cocktail circuit left. That's Trump's words, not mine. Trump said, lying Kamala Harris has chosen Brett Baer of Fox News to do a much-needed interview because he is considered to be fair and balanced, though often very soft to those on the cocktail circuit left. I would have preferred seeing a more hard-hitting journalist, but Fox has grown so weak and soft on the Democrats, constantly polluting the airwaves with unopposed Kamala representatives, that it all doesn't matter anymore. Hopefully, the people will understand on November 5th and early voting, make America great again. And again, the Kamala Brett Baer interview is going to be pre-taped. It's pre-taped. Like most of her other interviews. But what is Donald Trump hiding from? Well, Donald Trump is going to be going on the Joe Rogan podcast. He confirmed that on his podcast with Full Send. And the Rogan team apparently has extended an invite to Kamala Harris, and the Kamala team is talking with them about that. Is it a crazy state of affairs to think that Joe Rogan may give a tougher interview to Kamala Harris than Brett Baer on Fox News? Is that not insane? I think that it's the truth, though. I think Joe Rogan will be a tougher interview for Kamala Harris than Brett Baer of Fox News. It's also one of the reasons why I'm not sure that the Kamala Harris-Joe Rogan thing would even happen. Again, the rumors are that they're in talks right now, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if that goes that way. I don't know if that's going to go down. I don't know if Joe would be open to pre-taping it. I don't know if Joe would be open to editing it. But he's rumored to be in talks to host Kamala Harris on the podcast. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. And while Kamala gets all these passes from the media, right? She gets the editing room treatment from 60 Minutes. The View says the media has to do a better job than what they're doing with Kamala Harris. This is Sunny Hostin on The View earlier today.
Kamala's not doing enough press. Then she goes on this huge press tour. She was here with us. I thought she was fantastic. She was energetic. The crowd went wild. It was electric. CNN, Democrats grow anxious. Axios, blue wall blues. Fox, Dems are scared to death. No, Dems are not scared to death. Dems are pumped. What I would like the press to...
Dems aren't scared to death. Dems are pumped. Are the Dems pumped right now? She does like a little fist motion. Like, yes, we're pumped. Are we pumped?
Are scared to death. No, Dems are not scared to death. Dems are pumped.
Yeah. Sell us on it, Sonny. We're pumped. She's trying to make it seem like the media blitz that Kamala Harris has been on isn't because of the internal polling that they have, isn't because of the implosion in the numbers, isn't because the joy has all but left the room. This is how they sell and shill for Kamala Harris. This is how they do it.
What I would like the press to talk a little bit more about is Trump is in hiding.
Yeah, that's the new talking point. Get ready for that everywhere. Trump is hiding. Allegedly. He was, you know where he was hiding on Friday? Aurora, Colorado at a campaign rally. And then you know what he did on Saturday? He hid at another rally. And then he was hiding last night at a rally. Find a better hiding spot, man.
You know what those are?
Well, those are cheap fakes.
Nice little throwback.
Yeah, it's a good throwback. We haven't been able to use that in a while. Is it? Are the
Pumping these cheap fakes out there?
Are the Donald Trump, when he went on Maria Bartiromo over the weekend and gave an interview, a sit-down interview, was that also a cheap fake? Yeah, I think so.
He didn't do the 60 Minutes interview.
Okay, 60 Minutes. They heavily edited the Kamala Harris interview for her to make her look better. They got rid of the word salad. They won't release the transcript because they understand how bad it would make them look. And 60 Minutes, they attacked Donald Trump for saying that Hunter Biden's laptop wasn't Russian disinformation. When Trump had the audacity to say the Hunter Biden laptop is real, Leslie Stallworth, is that her last name? I think it's
so,
Stallworth.
yeah.
Leslie over at 60 Minutes says, well, that's just not true. You can't spread lies on my air. Why would he want to go back on 60 Minutes?
He does not want to do another debate.
He agreed to a second debate. Kamala Harris turned down the Fox News debate. Also, who begs for a rematch? The loser. The loser begs for a rematch.
He's in mental decline.
Again, he's in mental decline. Coming from the same people who said Joe Biden could run circles around us for 3.5 years before they had to get rid of this man because who embarrassed him on a debate stage? Oh, the guy that they're saying is in mental decline.
Obama's speech was captivating in Pittsburgh, yet instead of talking about that, we're talking about what he said before the speech to black men.
Yeah, when he chastised them for not being able to vote for a woman. Yeah. I think that's reasonable.
I think that the media has to do a much better job than what they're doing.
Yeah, the media has to do a better job carrying water for Kamala Harris. Are you keeping score at home? The extremely biased leftist media, they have to do a better job. They have to. CNN's doing their part. They're inviting far-left radicals like James Carville on their air. Is James Carville even relevant anymore? I know he was relevant in like the 90s and the early 2000s, but nowadays he just sounds like an unhinged lunatic.
This is a very dangerous time when you think about it. And he is going full-throated authoritarianism. He's telling people they ought to beat some woman up at his rally.
That's James Carville on CNN. Trump is a full-throated authoritarian, and he's requesting people to beat up women at his rallies. Okay.
And he's going to say, and Michael Flynn is going to say, and all of them are going to say, we told you so, and you voted for us, so we have no choice but to arrest our political enemies. And
yeah, that's rich coming from the party that has weaponized the DOJ to go after their chief political opponent. It's rich, right? That's rich. Oh, he's gonna go after his political enemies. It's funny though because some of these court cases from Donald Trump dealing with that weaponized DOJ, it does seem like they're coming back to bite the left. Have you seen what's happening with his last court case? It's pretty wild. The civil fraud conviction, which resulted in what was it, like $500 million judgment. That could be overturned very soon by the New York Appellate Division. And there's this video going around online. It's a highlight reel, almost 2 minutes of a panel of 5 justices just steamrolling Letitia James's team of lawyers. Listen to this.
Underneath all these questions, the question of mission creep has 6312 morphed into something that it was not meant to do.
All the defendants repeatedly violated.
Ms. Vail, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners?
And it was using...
I'm sorry, but what's being described sounds an awful lot like a potential commercial dispute between private actors.
I mean, you've got 2 really sophisticated parties in which no one lost any money. The case that you cite involved where there was damage to consumers, damage to the marketplace. You've got a scheme to get unsophisticated consumers to take out home loans. You got a collapse of Lehman Brothers. You don't have anything like that here.
And that's something you must address because there has to be some limitation on what the Attorney General can do in interfering in these private transactions, as Justice Friedman said, that where people don't claim harm So what is the limiting principle? The immense penalty in the
What is the limiting principle? I'm going to retweet this video. Charlie Kirk had posted it, and it's a good watch, but it just looks like Trump is going to get another W on the board, possibly even before the election takes place. And then what are they going to do? Then what are they going to do? But the same people that weaponize the DOJ to go after Trump are saying, oh, he's gonna weaponize the DOJ to go after his political opponents. Again, it's always projection with these people. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Matt Murphy is coming in next. He's going to let us know what is happening on the Murphy Show today. It's 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. What's up, Murph?
Why is Mason doing one of the hand emojis?
Because he
played the news tease.
Because he played the news tease bed, and we don't do that here.
We don't do that here.
Oh, really?
No.
Here or like at all?
In this particular
space
segment.
right now. Okay.
We give you more time.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Hello, Chris.
What's up, dude?
How are you?
Good. How are you feeling? You're not. What's going on with you?
I don't handle success well. I mean, it's true, right? I mean, I don't handle everything going well. And everything's going, from a political perspective, everything seems to be going well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everything's going as planned, and I don't handle that well. See, I'm not saying that it's not real. I just don't handle it well.
I feel like, though, everybody is just catching up to where we were a month ago.
I hope.
2 months ago.
I hope. I mean, and you and I talked about it. I felt like, and I think you felt similarly, that, a potato was going to get a bump after Joe Biden left the race, right? If you ran a potato, that potato is going to get a 5-point bump.
I would vote for a potato over Kamala.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Joe.
Absolutely.
Joe,
I mean, I think a potato would do less damage just sitting there for 4 years.
Yeah.
So that potato that is Kamala Harris got the 5 to 7 point bump, and then you could predict it. She doesn't have anything there, and so as people see more and more of that, there's going to be a slow slide. All of that's happening as we expected it to, and I'm anxious because we've got 3 weeks to go, and anything can happen in 3 weeks, and I truly do believe that the future of America is at stake.
But what is going to happen with Trump that we don't like? What surprises? I always go back to, if they had something on him, they would have used it.
They don't have anything on him.
They don't have anything on him.
No, they'll try to make additional things up, like, ooh, look, new stuff. And
what's the new one? He's going to send the military after you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He is going to the brand new one is that he's going to use the military to go after his political enemies and put them in camps.
Yeah.
So they're back to remember. Hey, I'm old enough to remember. You old enough to remember when they tried to kill him?
Yeah.
You old enough? And they said, hey, we need to really tone down all of this nasty rhetoric about Adolf Hitler-esque imagery and all of that. Remember that?
I do.
It's way back in the day, like 3 months ago.
And now he's actually going to use the military to round you up.
He's a threat to democracy, Chris.
He 100%.
Have to understand that.
100%.
At least he's not a plagiarist.
Oh, I didn't even get to that today.
You didn't get to.
I didn't get to that.
Awesome.
But I will say, at least she did glean something from Joe.
That's right.
Joe,
how'd you get where you are? Cheat, steal it. Okay.
Just like Joe, even down to the plagiarism. It's nice, right?
Oh, that's good. So, yeah, and of course the mainstream media is going to kind of ignore all of that. So,
well, why would they cover that? It's just like the feds admitting that the number of child sex trafficking reports has tripled under Harris and Biden.
The best thing that's come out of the political news cycle in the last forever has been the J.D. Vance, Martha Raddatz interview, though, because it truly does expose the political left as the phonies that we know them to be. And I include the mainstream media in that.
And it makes J.D. seem like such a regular guy because we have that reaction to the news all the time.
Yeah.
Only a handful?
Yeah, are you listening to yourself?
Are you hearing yourself? Dan made the point this morning. I love it. That should be our reaction to any time they say something crazy. You want to put tampons in boys' rooms? Do you hear yourself?
Yourself right? Exactly.
Do you hear yourself right now?
Right. And by the way, I would remind you, and I don't need to, that these are the same people that told us that we were supposed to take an untested drug because if it saves one child, right? If it saves one child.
If it saves one life, guys.
Right. It's worth it, right?
You don't want to kill grandma.
Screw that.
I really don't. I'm not a fan.
No, not a fan at all.
Not a fan.
Do you hear yourself, Chris?
I do.
Okay, good.